Song that I made up when I was in Manchester, England. A couple of friends of mine lived on this road called Clyde Road. Bus pulled out at midnight on the hour. Skies grew dim as the night wore on. Jokes, but no one laughed. He glanced past us like shooting stars. All the dreams I thought had all been dead had returned disguised as rain, disguised as rain. Disguised as rain, disguised as rain. Another star, another wave that takes another hour from my life. Another road, another light that seems so far away. Bus pulled out at midnight on the hour. Lights grew dim as the night wore on. All the dreams I thought had long been gone had returned disguised as rain, disguised as rain, disguised as rain. Disguised as rain. Hey, thank you guys.
Hi, welcome to the Center for Art and Talk. Today I want to share with you the beautiful ethereal art of Michelle Nosco. Here's one of her pieces here. As you can see, it's mixed medium, some airbrush, and there's a lot happening in this piece. You can see some animals. The spirit and the feel of this piece we felt really is a nice fit here. And as well, we feature a few of her other pieces. She does some beautiful animal pieces, some wolves, some dogs, and we have one of her pieces, the wolf, over on the far wall here. We'll show you that in just a moment. We have some other art to share with you today, so we'll move into that in just a moment.
Right, this is a song that I made up from those similar chords. It's an older one. take all the blame. But there's one thing you should know, and I hope you know by now. I'm gonna leave you behind.
So my most important, I'll tell you guys, if you wanted to know me, which is an option, my most important things about myself that would be interesting, that I would be shown in the films that I like, the film stars, and Catherine Hepburn, Cary Grant, and I can go down a list and you guys will know them all. They're old film stars, and most importantly now what comes to mind is United Artists. So it's Mary Pickford and Charlie Chaplin and Dennis Strauss Sr. And it was very cool that there was a junior, because it was like he was so cool that you have to do this again, another generation. that was classic. I love that. Then there was the Charlie Chaplin. But the United Artists, these were people that understood what was happening with the filmmaking, the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayers and the other groups were, studios were coming into existence, and they basically wanted control over their own, the autonomy over their own creative skill sets. And they collaborated, which was genius. Whenever we collaborated, was genius. So that was an important point in history. I'm going to skip to another one now that just came to mind, which was in the 1950s after McCarthyism. There was Senator McCarthy. The guy was unbelievable. He was, and everyone sort of, it's like, and we fell for that. Where were we at? So, as a result, they had the something 10, and they were the ones who were designated essentially communists, because they were thinking of different perceptions about how we could socially evolve and coexist on the planet. And they were, in my estimation, Americans. I'm sure there were some communists that were like communist kind of thing that were subversive, but the idea of the intellectual pursuit and academic processing of what exactly was the best way to live. It's more a philosophical venue. It's more Plato and Socrates in action in 1950s, which was great that it still survived that long. So what was interesting was Kirk Douglas made a movie, and the movie was called Spartacus. Now, and everyone thinks it's Spartacus. The recent movie with that was with
Crowe?
Gerald Butler?
with Russell Russell
Gladiator.
Crowe,
Yeah.
and not Gladiator, but Maximus,
Oh,
and he was
that character.
and the character was Maximus, and the idea of in the Roman Colosseum, Maximus, Maximus, the crowd is chanting, Maximus, and of course it was gory because it was the whole gladiator scene, etc. However, it was powerful and memorable, and when Spartacus had went and did his entire run, there was an end to the adventure that he had in the countryside, and they were going up against the Roman Empire, and he didn't have a chance. But they did what they could, and that is the definition of conscious men, I'll say, and women. So as a result, they were captured, and they were sitting down on the roadside. They were dirty and muddy. They had been clean the whole movie, and now they took and they put this mud on them. They're not sitting in mud, and their shoulders bent over, and one of the Roman officers, rode past and said, which one of you are Spartacus? And everyone knew who Spartacus was as part of Spartacus' army. And in defense of him, the one guy first stood up and said, "I'm Spartacus." And then another one stood up, "I'm Spartacus."
Right, everywhere.
Classic
We'll
moment.
crucify you all.
Yeah.
A classic moment in film history. The concept of love in action, classic. Kirk Douglas, he defied the McCarthy, everyone was afraid to do a film. Everyone had been blacklisted. He hired people who had been blacklisted, and he created the film going against it, and this is what the film was about. Talk about art creating light, right? Light creating life imitating art. It was a powerful film on top of a powerful film, world class. And I'll stop there. That's my 3 minutes.
That was a good one, man. Right. Okay. With all your hopes and dreams in the world left just out of your reach, fireworks that lit the night before, a distant memory, bits and pieces washed upon the shore. Maybe I'm just wasting time. Maybe times are wasting me, telling me no. Always remind me that maybe one day I could. The Ferris wheel and the boardwalk by the pier, left abandoned with another passing year. If I were you, I wouldn't beat it to the ground. I would take what's left and pack the rest on the next bus out of town. Maybe I'm just pulling chains, but maybe chains are pulling me, telling me no. Always reminding me that maybe one day I just wasting time. But maybe time's always wasting me time. Always remind me that baby one day I could. Always remind me that baby one day I could. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot.
Speaking of film, I'm producing and writing a film. And I actually met Anthony Hopkins a few weeks ago.
Nice.
And made an initial contact. I contacted his agent. Waiting to hear back. I have an email from Matt Damon's agent who's interested in narrating my project. It's a documentary to help veterans with natural treatments. I actually just met with Congresswoman Julia Brownlee's staff today, which is very nice. And she has a bill that she's trying to get through that would basically embrace and explore alternative health care for veterans. So there's 22 veterans days. And so the interesting thing about this project, which I'm really grateful for, there was a movie that was done in Ojai called Ground Operations about teaching vets how to organic farm, to do livestock, basically to help support the community. And I noticed that the woman that produced it, her name was Delaney Ellis, she had 9 corporate sponsors. Patagonia, Casa Permanente, and I saw that, and mine's in line with that. So I approached Dole Produce, or whatever, and their headquarters is in Westlake, and I'm communicating back and forth with the owner. He's worth $3 billion. And I'm basically packaging this. The budget's going to be anywhere from $4 to $6 million. And basically, I'm packaging it to them, saying, "Look, you sponsor me and you produce this. You will have press in every single newspaper because you'll be talking about veterans, and the fact that you sponsored this. You'll be going on CNN, talking to Anderson Cooper. You'll be talking to Oprah. You'll be talking." You know, the gentleman that owns Dole's one gentleman, 91 years old, very healthy. He's got a health institute. He's got a whole campus on the East Coast. So things are looking very fruitful. So hopefully they're going to bite, and then I will have basically a budget anywhere from $4 to $6 million to hire Matt Damon, and basically I want to have 3 or 4 A-list celebrities: Anthony Hopkins, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, and Robert Downey Jr. I don't want one celebrity to kind of take over the whole. I want like a little piece. And if I'm asking them to do a tiny piece of narration, there's more likelihood they're going to say, "I'll do it," because it's just go to a studio, lay down the dialogue, and then it's done. It's an afternoon. And then it helps elevate. And my goal to me is this movie will be, well, the highest grossing documentary is Fahrenheit 9/11. But right above that is it's a mockumentary, which is Borat. Did a few million more. So that's like, so my goal is to exceed Fahrenheit 9/11 and Borat, because to me, I'm kind of doing the sequel to 9/11, because we wouldn't have had these soldiers go through all the crap that they're going through for because what he exposed. And so basically, it takes place at 3 resorts: one in Santa Barbara, Montecito, Biltmore, Ojai Valley Inn, and the Westlake Four Seasons. We take 75 vets, spend $10,000 doing all kinds of natural therapies, and we're going to draw their blood, check all their toxin levels, heavy metal levels before we do anything, and then run them through all these different therapies, and then check it again, and then we're going to watch them. And then after the movie's done, hopefully we'll get a wide release, go to the movie theater, and we're going to see it. And then I want to make a series like on HBO or Showtime, so they can be, there's no restriction, dialogue or whatever. And it'll be a weekly series where we basically follow the vets in different modalities, because it's always evolving. The alternative healthcare. There's one thing might work for somebody, or it might not work for somebody else. So we just want to basically showcase once a week different vets and doing different things. And yeah, it was really good. The staff at Congresswoman Brownlee was really very, very happy. And I'm hoping also, I said, if we get Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins on board, I would like for them to go to Washington later this year, next year, when the bill's going to be up for a vote, to have them testify like this has to happen, this must happen. These people's lives are at stake, and it is a crisis because we're losing 22 a day. We're in crisis. The people are dying, 22 a day. It's like they have to do something. We have to stem some. We have to be trying to push back the casualties. I mean, this is inexcusable. And I have a lot of experience working in natural health, and I've seen lots of amazing things. And I've done all the therapies that I'm recommending to the veterans, so I'm very well versed in it. And they're all natural, safe. Thank you for it. So that's it.
Hey, it's just that's
Good cause, man. That's it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
One of my favorite artists, Prince. I'll read this. Guess I should have known by the way you parked your car sideways that would land. See, you're the kind of person who believes in making out one's lonely band. I guess I must be dumb, 'cause in a pocket full of horses, Jordan, something new. But it's Saturday night, guess it makes it alright. And you said, baby, what have I got to lose? Honey, I said a little bit cold bit. Maybe you're much too fast. Yes, you are a little bit cold bit. You need a love that's gonna last. Guess I should have closed my eyes when you drove me to the place where your horses run free. 'Cause I got a little ill when I saw all the pictures of the jockeys that were gonna hold me. Believe it or not, I started to worry. I wonder if I had enough glass. But it was Saturday night, I guess it makes it alright. And you said, baby, do you have enough? Yeah, honey, I said a little bit cold bit. Maybe I'm much too fast. Yes, you are a little bit cold bit. You need a love that's gonna last. Body like yours ought to be in jail till the verge of being obscene. Move over, baby. Give me the keys. I'm gonna try to take your little red love machine. Oh yeah, little red Corvette. Maybe I'm not too fast. Yes, you are, little red Corvette. You need a love that's gonna last. Little red Corvette. Maybe 4 hours.
Or-
All right, I'll go.
All right, Mary, yeah.
Mary,
Yeah. So one of the things, and when I gave my email address on the page here, at the top of the page, it says topic of choice. So I thought about it just real quickly. But one of the things that I've been very interested in is the paradigm shift. And if you're not familiar with what that really means, the age that we're living in now, and the age is approximately a couple of thousand years in existence, and it's kind of varies at either end because there's a transition period. But the age that we're living in right now is the age of Pisces, which is predominantly a confrontational age. It's aggressive. It's some of the things. Aggression is one of them. It's kind of warlike, and it's very much self-centered. And the age that we're moving into is the age of Aquarius. And you probably all kind of hear that and think, this is the dawning of the age. And that's essentially what they were talking about. And before Pisces, there was another age. Actually, there was an age where it was mostly it was an earth-centered age, goddess worship. It was matriarchal. There was a lot of this in the beginning of Pisces. Then it turned over into the monotheistic, male-dominated age, which is representative, pretty much, of male is kind of aggression and female is comfort, nurturing. These are archetypes, and but for the last certainly the last 50 years or so, and the people that I've read that talk about this talk about the transition period being anywhere from 200 to 500 years. So there's a long period here coming. But what I see, and maybe it's the people I hang out with, that's very possible. But what I see is a growing of compassion. I see more and more people turning towards alternative, and alternative medicine is very much in line with this, because it's the mind-body-soul connection that is becoming more accepted. Maybe not quite popular yet, but it's becoming more accepted, mostly in non-third world countries. Third world countries have a hard time because they're just poor, they're surviving. But here, we're talking about that compassion, and how when you give to others, you receive. The act of giving and the act of taking care of your fellow human feeds that compassion center in your brain. We just recently saw something on, I think it was Brain Games, actually, about that. They've pinpointed what part of your brain controls compassion. Honestly, not, and that doesn't make it more prevalent or less prevalent. Science can now point at a place for it. But I'm seeing it also, not just in the spiritually aware or seekers, that type of people that I tend to hang out with and that I know, but I also see it in business, where I'm a member of, we were talking about this earlier, BNI. It stands for Business Networking International, and it's a referral group, a lot of referral groups. They're actually in 54 countries. And their motto is giver's gain. Now, of course, they're talking about giving references, referrals to people. And, if you hear somebody in the grocery store saying, I tried to log into my website, that thing is so old, you'd go over to them and say, I heard what you just said, and I just wanted to let you know that I have a really good friend and business acquaintance that does websites, and you might just want to give them a call. Here's their card. That kind of thing. So it's not pushy. It's not like you have parties and that kind of thing. You know, they meet once a week and stuff like that. But the thing, you know, comes back to even in an area of life that is typically not a compassionate area. You know, it's typically not something that, you know, you want to make somebody else rich. You know, that's not. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing the fact that, you know, even in business, it helps you to help others. And so that was kind of my, you know, my kind of overall question. You know, does anybody else see that kind of evidence of a paradigm shift?
I have to share something really quickly in the same line.
Well,
That's against the rules, sir.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just wanted to bolster what you're talking
We'll
about.
save it for the dialogue.
Oh, I don't know. Okay,
There's a,
Okay.
I don't want to forget.
Yeah, write it down here. But yeah, anyway, and so if you want to know, more about me as a person, you know, I'm a businesswoman. We've owned our own business for 30-some years, and but more than that, I don't really think of myself in that manner. I think of myself more as a seeker. You know, energy is everywhere. Energy never dies. It flows around. You can direct it. You know, it's like, you know, there's things out there that we just don't understand, much like electricity would have been magic 200 years ago, you know, and here's another funny thing, that through this seeking, through this, you know, open-minded, just kind of being open to ideas and things like that, I have found myself becoming kind of a hub for all these different groups that I deal with. You know, I deal with my spiritual group. I deal with my Ventura Harley owners group. You know, riding motorcycles. I deal with a business networking group. You know, it's like there's all these different things. And I overheard somebody, a friend of mine, saying, you know, you should ask Mary. She knows everybody. Which surprised me, because I don't think of myself that way. But it just kind of has seemed to happen. And I'm real comfortable with it.
That's nice.
So, that's all for me.
excellent.
Here we have one of Michelle Nosco's other pieces. I mentioned earlier that she's very inspired by nature and wild animals in nature. Here we have a beautiful wolf. It's a mixed media piece. It looks like she's done watercolor and some ink here. A beautiful wolf by Michelle Nosco. Again, we're really excited to have her artwork here, and invite you to come take a look at it in person. Next up, we'll be sharing some of the artwork of Judd Kennedy.
Well, excellent. So we're all sort of going over, but that's good. We've got something to say, which is the whole point in the first place. So excellent. And we see how difficult it is to not say something when we identify a common point of reference, and there is a fluid, there is a flow that we actually allow. When we don't, we actually allow a flow to continue to mount, and this is a new dimension for us. We've been conditioned otherwise, and it's fun. It's sort of fun and exciting. What was old is now new again, kind of thing, and it's sort of fun, and I really love it what the baby boomers doing. There's something about the consciousness of the boomers that it's like it is classically wonderful.
Are we boomers?
Okay. It's classically wonderful for the and of course you guys too. I mean, yeah, you guys are right there with us. You guys we were the largest entity.
I think I'm right on the cusp.
Right now it's the 23-year-olds that's the largest portion of our population.
Wow.
And the baby boomers have lost out. We used to be at the top. Now we're number 2 or something in terms of the largest portion of the population.
Number 2.
Yeah, but
I can
the
do that.
and I'll stop there. But the baby boomers we're the generation, man, You know, as far as we come forward and there's like us, and we're saying, let's open up our eyes, let's get this big picture down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's special. And so we inspire the great ones that have come connected, that are connected to us. But anyway, yes. So
Well, the subject I wrote down was sanity in an age of insanity. We went to a meditative course actually last night in Ventura. And I think the paradigm that Mary's mentioning, as you say, it seems to be, it's the boomers. It's the people who have the liberty of time to think about things and no political pressure not to share their ideas and think about things openly. And it's allowing us to explore everything from alternative medicine to thinking in a different dimension, thinking in a more compassionate way, which we've been raised in a sociological environment where we were taught to be greedy, that greed was good. I mean, Wall Street, you know, Michael Douglas was not condemned for that. He was celebrated for that statement. And a whole generation set about making as much money as they possibly could and living as opulently as they could and living beyond their means. And we see a lot of people who have lost, I know personally many people have lost everything by going too far in that direction. I think we've come close ourselves because we came out of that 80s period where whatever you wanted, you got. You know, you just worked harder and you got it. You dedicated more time and more energy to getting those things because things were important at a particular period here not too long ago, and now all of a sudden things aren't not nearly as important as they were. And I think that our relationships and our compassion, I mean, that word's going to come around again. It's something I'm not seeing in my fellow man. I'm not seeing a paradigm. I'm seeing a lot of very rude people, particularly on the road. I'm seeing, I wouldn't call it road rage. It's just a lack of consideration. It's just people are insulated within their vehicles with their tinted windows, and they can behave in a way that they couldn't have behaved in the Wild West. They would have been shot. They would have been killed that day. They wouldn't have gotten a mile. They would have been exterminated. And indeed, it might have been a good thing because it would have gotten rid of this cut of our civilization that are so negative. Because there are a lot of people rolling around that are a danger, honestly, to themselves and their fellow man, and they're not showing any compassion. They're on a completely self-centered routine, you know, where someone like Mary, who wakes up thinking about a friend and what can she do for this person in our business. I mean, we're in the service business, and every day people are calling and they need something. They have a need. We fulfill the need. We help them out, and we do it for a very fair amount. So we're giving all day long of ourselves, and by the end of the day, boy, it's draining because it's not as though you're creating this cog that you can then go and resell, and you see the projections on the profits, and I'm going to be comfortable soon, you know, because I'm going to make a ton of money, you know.
Right.
When you're in the service business, it's a continuum of just helping people day by day, and with good efforts come good results. But getting back to my subject, I don't watch the news. I don't get a paper. But I happened to catch a little bit the other day, and I was appalled to see what's going on with Israel and Gaza.
Yeah.
And I was appalled to see what was going on in Syria. You know, it's just like seems like every month or even every week we've got a new crisis. And poor Obama. I mean, poor leader of the free world at this moment, because there are just so many foes of freedom and everything we're doing here, of this open forum where we can speak. And look what Stalin did to anybody with an imagination, anybody who was a free thinker. You know, they were sent into hell to die a slow death, become part of the road of bones. I mean, I think we're so privileged to be able to openly share. But I really am trying to figure out in my own mind, and this meditative thing last night was great because he was metaphorically and kind of metaphysically allowing us to feel that sort of energy that I think we all have felt, you know, that kind of higher power, and embracing that in our hearts and finding that breathing aspect where we could actually become wiser and think clearer. And I think that's the road to sanity in this age of insanity. But I think we really are living in a time, and maybe it's this, you know, on this cusp of Aquarius or whatever it is. I don't really believe in that stuff, but I will say that it does seem like we are living through a very violent time in our planet's existence where people just can't seem to get along, you know, and it kind of boggles the mind, and it really makes me want to try and do something to better things, but it seems like there's nothing you can do. It's like when the stock market crashes and it affects every business and everyone, and nobody wants to hire entertainment anymore because they can't afford it. Nobody wants to hire web designers anymore because everything's frozen. We stop doing everything we're doing because we're all afraid. Mm-hmm. And you know, that sort of threat to us has been like the overriding threat, that and the environmental disasters that await us as the waters rise, which they're on their way of doing. Yeah. So it's to me that's the subject at hand, is trying to gain some sanity in this world that seems to be spinning out of control.
Excellent. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Jeez.
But she may call you up tonight. I've been telling lies I never knew. All to keep that girl away from you. She may call you up tonight. Then what could I say that would say? She may call you up tonight. Then what could I say that would sound right? That would sound right. That would sound
Someone left. But I feel that, you know, that people are most people that have, you know, they're conscious, and I think most people are, but you know, maybe some people hide it. I don't know, but I think that it, or at least I feel that I'm torn, because I feel that on one hand you have all this where people are saying, hey man, we should do this for people. We should, instead of making, you know, let's go for broke and, you know, get the jackpot, let's help people. And then at the same time, you know, you have this thing going on in the Gaza Strip. You have this thing, somebody shooting down a plane with 300 people in it, and you have it's just like this weird kind of like, you know, it's like I don't know, it's like a contradiction, you know, but I think that with every, and I feel that, I hope that, you know, that with every bad thing, people hopefully learn from it, and good can come out of it. You know, I thought that, you know, the having the war in Iraq, and having this whole war thing that we had, whatever, how many years, 8 years of that. It seemed like there was a backlash, and we did have, you know, the first
African American president, that was elected. I think to me, like I said, everybody might have a different opinion, but to me that was a backlash of what had been before. In the 60s, you had the Vietnam War, but at the same time that the Vietnam War, everybody always thinks of, wow, what great tunes, what great music. Man, you had the Beatles, you had the best music, but if you were living back then, you might have thought it was the end of the world. In 1968, you had, Kennedy, the second Kennedy assassinated.
Yeah.
You had Martin Luther King assassinated, all in the same year. You would have thought, and the war's going full blown at this moment in time, and then then to get Nixon voted in there, you would have thought it was the end of the world. But but people remember things like the music and the fashion and the films and everything, and so I'm hoping that that with all this craziness, that something good can come out of it. Now that they have this downing of this airplane, which was a tragic, but maybe now maybe Putin will ramp down a little bit now that he's got the Europeans going, man, you gotta ramp it down, because he kind of like was hiding with that because they have all the oil and so maybe that it's the end of certain things, and one thing dies, another thing comes up, and not that it's going to be the end of tragedy and hostilities, but that it's a balance, and that we can always keep it balanced, and one doesn't get ahead. Well, it'd be nice if the great shit got ahead of everything, but it seems like it has to be a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr.
That's true.
And as I mentioned earlier, here we have Judd Kennedy's photography work. Judd is another artist that we're very pleased and proud to be able to share with you here. What he's done that's really unique with these pieces is that not only are they beautiful photographs, as you can see, but they're mounted or printed right onto metal. And so they're easy to maintain and hang outside, for example, if you have a patio and wanted to have something outdoors. And of course you can see that he's captured some really beautiful colors in this one, and the beautiful sky and clouds here. We have more to share of Judd Kennedy's amazing work. His inspired paintings are up next.
It's another song about North of England. I'm running down Glide Road, I never felt so free. As the English rain comes down, double-decker bus from London town. not long here to find. I hope I find it here, running down that road. I'm running down that road, running down that road. I'm running down that road, running down that Thank you guys. Actually, that was a song about Clyde Road. The other one was about England, but I got them mixed up.
And here we have one of Judd Kennedy's beautiful inspired paintings. As you can see, that there's the splatter techniques being used here. This is on canvas. These pieces are for sale, by the way, but as you can see, this piece evokes a lot of different emotions. I kind of think of deep space when I look at this, looking into one of the far-off galaxies, perhaps, and you can see the mixture of colors that he's used here gives you that depth, that space. Of course, I would be remiss to say that this is not a bit Jackson Pollock inspired, and of course Judd is very open and upfront about that. A beautiful piece, one of many that we share here. And here we have another piece by Judd Nelson. I love this one too. As you can see, it's the same part of the same series, I guess, and this clearly is another of the splatter pieces. I love what he's done in this one though, because there's a lot more of the fluorescent paints. What's really fun too is to have a black light showing on this, kind of makes it all pop and gives you more depth on the piece. This one kind of reminds me of the X-Men, something maybe right out of the comic books that I used to look at as a kid. Just
Totally.
And so I feel that Judd captured a very whimsical and kind of fantasy-like spirit on this piece here. So come check it out in person. It's really better.
This is kind of inspired by a band called Big Star and the Beatles and Badfinger, I think. Or I'd like to think, anyway. The sun will rise again, but it won't bring back that blue and gold and roses scattered all across the bed. I won't go back that way, for it causes too much sorrow, and I guess it's not for me to say, but I'm sorry anyway. I'm looking for some nice love. The angels sing on your holiday. They won't be there or any other day. The saints will find there was the way. Ba 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 ba. If you were here, I'd ask you to stay. The lights of town will shine, but it won't bring back the light that was in your eyes when we were young and time is all we had. I'm looking for some nice If you really want me to, I'll go. I hate my disappointment to show. I don't understand my love, please tell me what to do. If you really want me to, I'll go. I don't know what you're trying to do.
research.
Nice.